Hi, I'm Officer Brian Carper at the Burlington Police Department. I've been asked to talk to you a little bit about crisis intervention, how officers are trained, and how we respond to this. First, let me tell you a little bit about my background. I've been a Burlington police officer now for 25 years. I know I don't look that old, do I? All right, so sometimes I crack myself up. So, the other things I've done in this department, other than crisis intervention, is I've been a field training officer, which means I train all the new hired officers. I've done that since I only had a year and a half on. I also am a hostage negotiator for the department. I was on the problem-oriented policing unit. I have the problem-oriented policing unit. First off, let me explain that. That's kind of like a street crimes unit, where I'd work plain clothes, sometimes in uniform. We worked mainly guns and drugs and street-level drug dealing. I'm a senior patrol officer, which means I will handle the crime scene until a command officer gets there. I'm the person in charge. I'm also a mental health first aid instructor and also a crisis intervention instructor. So some ways that our officers get trained for crisis intervention is that they have to go to a 40-hour class. There they learn about prescription drugs. They learn about mental illnesses, the effects, and some symptoms to look for. They're not going to be a mental health psychiatrist or anything like that, but they're going to have a general understanding of what they're dealing with. They also will have role plays where we bring in actors and they have to figure out what they're dealing with and the best avenue to get the people help that they need, be it get them into counseling, or if it's going to be even taken to the hospital for a psych eval. Another wonderful section that they have is also criminal law, and they have to have an hour-and-a-half course on just committal process alone. Then after that, if you want to be an instructor, you have to go to 2 40-hour sessions, which I have. CIT usually deals with people who are off their medications, don't know they're supposed to be on medications, or their medications have quit working. And we go and de-escalate an individual and help gear them in the right direction. Could be getting them back in touch with their therapist, or a family member that knows how to deal with them, or even take them to the hospital for an eval. This is sometimes very taxing and can be very difficult to do because sometimes they don't have a touch of reality, and you have to get them to trust you. When you're dealing with crisis intervention, it's dealing with mostly a way of talking to people and letting them understand that you're truly listening. Because that's what most people want to know, that somebody is listening to them and willing to help them. Another part of our CIT call-outs is also going to be for suicidal subjects. I get called out a lot to suicidal subjects. I've been off duty and got called in for one female that was suicidal. Patrol couldn't get her to go to the hospital, but didn't know the right questions to ask to make it an emergency committal. So they called me out. I ended up spending 4 hours on the call and finally getting her out to the emergency room for an emergency committal. The point of CIT is that we're going to try to avoid having to make an arrest if we can. There's going to be times where we just don't have a choice. We have to make that arrest. There's going to be other times, though, where we can tell them, hey, listen, this guy's got a mental illness. We're going to try to get him the help he needs so he doesn't have to get into the criminal system. Currently in Iowa and across the nation, prisons and jails house more mental illness, people affected with mental illness than anywhere else, which is a shame. I mean, that shouldn't be happening. A lot of times they don't realize they have a mental illness until they actually get into the jails and can get evaluated by somebody. But we're hoping that by using crisis intervention, we can avoid that circumstance. Right now, our resources in Burlington consist of the hospital. We've got Young House that deals with a lot of counseling. We also have a drop-in section that's performed by Hope Haven that's off of Kirkwood that has limited beds, but in order for somebody to get there, they have to be evaluated by a doctor and recommended. So right now our services aren't as great and up to scale as what we need. One thing that is coming, and will probably be here within the next year, is we're going to have a mobile crisis unit. A mobile crisis unit is going to be a trained psychiatrist or someone with 4 years in that field and a degree, plus a CIT officer will come out to the scene. We will take over the call, let patrol go if it's safe, and we will deal with them and get them the help they need. That's pretty cool if we can get a trained psychiatrist or somebody with that training in that field directly to the scene. Think of how much benefit that's going to do for those people. So I hope that this answered some of your questions about CIT and crisis intervention. If you have any other questions, feel free to email me at carperb@burlingtoniowa.org. Thank you.